Every day, life presents us with choices, small decisions that quietly shape the larger architecture of our destiny. The woman who is truly wise does not stumble aimlessly through these choices. She navigates them with inner clarity, guided by principles that preserve her strength, dignity, and purpose. To be a woman of substance means more than external accomplishments or recognition. It means living from a deep center of self-awareness. It is about cultivating a daily rhythm where wisdom governs emotion, where purpose outweighs distraction, and where integrity defines action. Here are 7 rules that a smart woman holds close to her heart, not as restrictions, but as living principles that bring harmony, growth, and power into her life. The first duty of a wise woman is to protect her thoughts, her emotions, and her energy. The world will always attempt to intrude, to sway, to control. But strength lies in discerning what belongs to her soul and what does not. In silence, the woman of depth discovers her own voice. She is not afraid to withdraw, because she knows that solitude is not emptiness. It is the soil where clarity grows. She does not allow herself to be consumed by the needs or demands of others. Boundaries are not walls of coldness, but lines of respect, drawn to protect what is sacred within her. The wise woman knows that every person she allows into her life carries influence. She does not surround herself with those who drain her, but with those who mirror her growth, her courage, and her light. She does not measure her worth against others. Her journey is her own, and she finds fulfillment in walking it authentically, not in imitating someone else's path. Every experience, joyful or painful, is a lesson. The smart woman asks, "What is this teaching me?" She knows that wisdom is not born from comfort, but from the courage to face what life reveals. Her deepest guide is within. While the world shouts loudly with advice, she listens to the quiet whisper of her own inner knowing. That voice, when trusted, never misleads. When a woman lives by these 7 rules, she does not chase strength, she embodies it. She does not demand respect, it naturally flows to her. She is not swayed by every storm, because she has built her house upon the rock of self, knowledge, and truth. The daily guidance is simple. Return to yourself, honor what is sacred within, and live each day with clarity, courage, and presence. A smart woman does not simply survive, she creates, she transforms, she uplifts. The most valuable territory you will ever possess is not land, wealth, or status. It is your inner world. This inner space, made of thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and dreams, shapes the life you live far more than any external circumstance. Yet, too often, people guard their homes, their money, and their reputations more fiercely than they guard their own minds and souls. A truly wise woman understands that her strength comes not from what she shows to the world, but from the sanctuary she creates within herself. Guarding your inner world means becoming deeply aware of what enters it. Every day, countless impressions flow toward you, words from others, images from society, opinions, judgments, expectations. If you are not vigilant, you may find yourself carrying beliefs that were never yours, reacting to emotions that do not truly belong to you, and living by standards you never consciously chose. Protecting your inner world is not selfish. It is the most necessary act of preservation. Without it, you risk losing the very essence of who you are. This guarding does not mean shutting yourself away from life. It is not about building cold, impenetrable walls that separate you from the world. Rather, it is about cultivating discernment, the ability to recognize what strengthens you and what weakens you, what brings you closer to truth and what leads you into confusion. It is about filtering out noise so that your soul can remain steady in its own rhythm. To guard your inner world is to understand that not every voice deserves to be heard, not every opinion deserves to be absorbed, and not every demand deserves a response. Many will attempt to sway you, some with persuasion, others with pressure, and still others with fear. But you must ask, does this align with the truth I carry within? If the answer is no, you are free to let it pass without guilt. The unguarded woman is easily influenced. She chases validation, bends under the weight of expectation, and loses herself in the endless noise of comparison. She may gain approval from the outside, but inside she feels hollow, for she has abandoned her own ground. The guarded woman, however, carries a quiet strength. She is not easily shaken, because she knows her worth does not depend on shifting winds of opinion. Her peace is not borrowed from others, it is rooted in her own center. Guarding your inner world also means paying attention to the quality of your thoughts. Thoughts are not passive, they are builders of reality. If you allow negative, fearful, or destructive thoughts to dominate, they will shape your experience accordingly. To be careless with your thoughts is like leaving the doors of your house wide open to intruders. But when you choose thoughts of clarity, courage, and self-respect, you create a mental environment where growth and peace can thrive. Another dimension of guarding your inner world lies in emotional mastery. You cannot control what happens around you, but you can decide what takes root within you. To allow anger, envy, or bitterness to govern your inner world is to hand over your freedom to forces that do not serve you. The wise woman feels emotions fully, but she does not let them become her master. She honors them, learns from them, and then releases them when their time has passed. In a world that constantly demands your attention, your energy, and your compliance, guarding your inner world is an act of quiet rebellion. It is choosing to say, I will not be defined by noise, I will not be consumed by distraction, I will not be molded by forces that do not honor my soul. It is a declaration of sovereignty, the recognition that your inner space belongs to you alone. When you guard your inner world, you become a source of stability not only for yourself but for others as well. People are drawn to those who are centered, calm, and self-possessed. Your presence becomes a sanctuary because you carry within you an unshaken ground. So, guard it well. Guard it with discernment, with strength, and with love. For when your inner world is protected, your outer life naturally reflects clarity, purpose, and peace. The woman who guards her inner world does not simply endure life, she shapes it with wisdom and dignity. In a world overflowing with noise, with endless demands for attention and constant streams of distraction, solitude has become rare and often misunderstood. Many fear it, confusing it with loneliness. Yet solitude is not emptiness. It is not the absence of connection, nor the mark of isolation. Rather, solitude is presence, the presence of your own soul, your own thoughts, your own being, unclouded by the constant voices of others. To value solitude is to understand that some of life's greatest treasures are found not in company, but in quiet. A woman who values solitude is a woman who has discovered the art of listening inward. She does not rush to fill every empty space with conversation, entertainment, or noise. Instead, she dares to enter the silence because she knows it is there that her true voice speaks. Solitude becomes her mirror. It reflects back her hidden strengths, her unspoken fears, and her deepest desires. Only in silence can she separate her authentic self from the mask she wears for the world. Many avoid solitude because it feels uncomfortable. The silence can be confronting. It shows you parts of yourself you may have ignored. But it is precisely in those moments that real growth takes root. When you sit alone, without distraction, you meet yourself honestly. You see what you are carrying, what wounds remain unhealed, what dreams are waiting to be born. Solitude reveals truth. And truth, though sometimes difficult, is always liberating. The woman who values solitude does not depend on the constant company of others to feel whole. She may love deeply, nurture friendships, and build strong bonds, but she does not use them to escape herself. She is at peace with her own presence. In solitude, she learns that she is not lacking, she is complete. She discovers that her worth is not tied to how many surround her or how much attention she receives. Her worth radiates from within. To value solitude also means to recognize its power to restore energy. The world drains. Daily obligations, conversations, and pressures consume mental and emotional resources. Solitude is the place where you refill what has been spent. It is where you lay down the burdens of performance, where you can breathe without needing to prove or explain. In solitude, the spirit exhales. You return lighter, clearer, and more focused. In solitude, creativity awakens. Many of the world's greatest ideas, works of art, and breakthroughs were born not in crowded rooms, but in the stillness of an inner retreat. When distractions fall away, the mind begins to wander freely, connecting ideas, envisioning possibilities, and daring to imagine what once seemed impossible. Solitude does not limit life, it expands it. It gives space for the imagination to stretch beyond the boundaries of the ordinary. The woman who values solitude carries a certain strength into the world. She is not easily swayed by the moods or judgments of others, because she has spent time anchoring herself in her own center. She does not fear being alone, for she knows that solitude is not emptiness, but fullness. It is the ground of her independence, the foundation of her clarity, and the wellspring of her wisdom. To fear solitude is to fear oneself. To embrace it is to discover a lifelong companion who never abandons you, your own soul. The wise woman does not run from silence. She enters it willingly, knowing that every moment spent in solitude is an investment in her wholeness. So, seek it without guilt. Let there be moments in your day where no voice but your own is heard, no presence but your own is felt. Create a sacred space where the noise of the world cannot enter, where you can listen deeply, think freely, and simply be. When you value solitude, you carry its gift into every interaction and every choice. You become more grounded, more intentional, more alive. Solitude does not take you away from life. It prepares you to meet life with greater depth. And when you learn to be at home with yourself, you discover a truth few ever realize: you were never truly alone. You were always whole, always enough, and always in the company of your own radiant spirit. To live without boundaries is to live at the mercy of the world. Every voice, every demand, every expectation rushes in, pulling you in different directions, leaving you exhausted, scattered, and disconnected from yourself. Boundaries are not barriers of selfishness. They are lines of respect, drawn with clarity, to protect what is sacred within you. A woman who sets firm boundaries does not do so out of coldness, but out of wisdom. She knows that without them, her energy, her peace, and her very identity will be consumed by forces outside her control. Boundaries are not about rejection, they are about recognition. They recognize that your time is limited, that your energy is precious, and that your life must serve your highest values, not the endless demands of others. To set boundaries is to declare: my life is mine to live. My space is mine to protect. My soul is mine to honor. It is an act of self-respect, and through it, you teach the world how to treat you. Many hesitate to set boundaries because they fear conflict, disapproval, or the loss of relationships. They bend, they overextend, they give beyond what is healthy, all in the hope of being loved or accepted. Yet love without respect is not love at all. If someone values you only when you abandon yourself, that bond is not genuine connection. It is dependency, manipulation, or control. The woman who sets boundaries understands this. She knows that relationships built on respect grow stronger, while those that depend on herself, sacrifice, were never worth keeping. Setting firm boundaries begins with self-knowledge. You must know where you stand, what you value, and what you will not tolerate. Without clarity, boundaries blur. You may find yourself saying yes, when every fiber of your being wants to say no. But when you are rooted in your values, your boundaries flow naturally. You do not need to defend them with anger, you uphold them with quiet certainty. Boundaries are also a shield against emotional invasion. Not every problem is yours to solve, not every burden is yours to carry, and not every emotion belongs in your inner space. The woman without boundaries absorbs the moods and troubles of everyone around her. She becomes a vessel for chaos, drained by battles that were never hers. The woman with boundaries, however, offers compassion without surrendering her strength. She can care without collapsing, listen without losing herself, and love without being consumed. To set boundaries is to guard your time. Time is life itself. Once given, it never returns. If you allow it to be endlessly stolen by distractions, demands, and obligations that do not serve your purpose, you will look back and find that you lived more for others' expectations than for your own calling. Boundaries reclaim time. They carve out space for solitude, for growth, for creativity, for rest. They ensure that your life is not spent reacting but creating, not merely existing but living intentionally. Boundaries also protect the body and spirit. To push yourself beyond your limits, to constantly ignore the signals of exhaustion, is to betray your own well-being. A wise woman honors her body by setting limits on what she can give. She understands that true generosity comes not from depleting herself, but from giving out of fullness. Boundaries preserve this fullness, so that when she gives with strength, not resentment. Setting firm boundaries does not make you unkind, it makes you authentic. It allows you to say yes with sincerity, because your no is equally respected. It teaches others that you are not to be used, controlled, or taken for granted. And most importantly, it reinforces within yourself the truth that you are worthy of respect, of space, and of freedom. The woman who sets firm boundaries carries herself with quiet authority. She does not need to shout her strength. It radiates in the way she protects her peace. She moves through the world with dignity because she has built a life that honors her soul. So, do not fear the boundary. It is not a wall that separates you from love. It is the gate that allows only true love and respect to enter. Guard it with courage. Defend it with clarity. And remember, to set firm boundaries is not only to protect your life, but to declare to yourself and to the world, I am worthy of the space I occupy, and I will not surrender it to anything less than truth, respect, and love. The people you allow into your life shape you in ways both visible and unseen. Every conversation, every shared moment, every bond leaves an imprint upon the soul. Relationships are not neutral. They either nurture your growth or they diminish your spirit. To choose relationships consciously is to awaken to this truth. It is to recognize that not everyone deserves access to your heart, your energy, or your trust. A wise woman understands that the quality of her relationships defines the quality of her life. Many move through life unconsciously collecting people, filling their circle with whoever appears, without asking whether those connections serve their deeper purpose. They cling to the familiar, even when it wounds them. They remain loyal to those who drain them, confuse them, or belittle their worth, because they fear letting go. Yet what you cling to defines the weight you carry. And if your relationships are heavy with negativity, fear, or manipulation, you will be dragged away from the life you are meant to live. To choose relationships consciously is not to judge harshly or discard recklessly. It is not about arrogance or superiority. It is about discernment, the ability to recognize who lifts you closer to your higher self and who pulls you further into the shadows of doubt. Relationships should not be measured only by how much joy they bring in fleeting moments, but by the deeper effect they have on your soul over time. A conscious woman looks beyond appearances. She does not measure the worth of a connection by charm, status, or convenience. She asks, does this person honor my boundaries? Do they respect my truth? Do they encourage my growth? Do they mirror my integrity? If the answer is no, she does not deny the reality. She steps away, not with anger, but with clarity. For she knows that holding on to relationships that weaken her spirit is a form of self-betrayal. Relationships are mirrors. They reveal parts of us that may otherwise remain hidden. Some mirrors reflect our strength, reminding us of our resilience and courage. Others reflect our wounds, forcing us to see what needs healing. To choose consciously is to keep those mirrors that help you grow, while stepping away from those that distort your truth. It is not about seeking perfection in others, but about aligning yourself with those who walk in honesty, respect, and authenticity. Choosing relationships consciously also means refusing to settle for connections that are shallow or transactional. The woman who chooses wisely does not seek companionship out of desperation, nor does she tolerate love that is conditional. She values depth over convenience, truth over appearances. She knows that it is better to walk alone with dignity than to walk with many and lose herself. There will always be relationships that challenge, test, and even hurt you. These experiences, too, carry lessons. But wisdom lies in knowing when a lesson has been learned and when it is time to release the bond. To stay in a toxic relationship out of habit or fear is to chain yourself to suffering. To let go is to reclaim your freedom and make space for connections that honor who you are becoming. When you choose relationships consciously, your circle may grow smaller, but it becomes infinitely richer. Each bond becomes a source of nourishment rather than depletion. The people around you remind you of your worth, inspire your courage, and reflect back the strength of your spirit. You no longer need to question whether you are loved, because the love present is authentic, steady, and true. Relationships built with consciousness are sanctuaries. They do not imprison, they liberate. They do not demand that you shrink, they encourage you to expand. They do not require masks, they invite authenticity. And in such connections, you find not only companionship but also alignment, a resonance that strengthens your soul. So choose with care, choose with clarity, choose with courage. For the relationships you keep are not mere details of your life, they are architects of your destiny. When you surround yourself with those who honor your truth, your path becomes clearer, your strength deeper, and your spirit unshakable. The world whispers constantly, look at her, measure yourself against him, see how you fall short, see how you must catch up. From the moment we wake, we are fed images and voices that push us into a silent competition with others. The temptation to compare is everywhere, and when left unchecked, it steals peace, confidence, and purpose. To live in comparison is to live in chains. To live in alignment is to step into freedom. Comparison is a thief because it blinds you to your own path. It convinces you that your worth is determined by how you measure against others, by the house you own, the body you display, the achievements you collect. But every soul carries a different story, every journey unfolds on its own rhythm. To compare your path to another's is like judging the sun by the timing of the moon's light. Both shine, but each at its appointed hour. Living in alignment is the antidote to comparison. Alignment means living in harmony with your own truth, values, and purpose. It means measuring yourself not against others, but against the woman you were yesterday. It means asking, am I walking in integrity with my spirit? Am I faithful to what I know is true within me? Alignment shifts the focus from competition to authenticity. When you live in alignment, envy loses its grip. You no longer see someone else's success as a threat, but as a reminder of what is possible. You celebrate their growth without diminishing your own. You understand that their path belongs to them, just as yours belongs to you. You stop trying to mimic their steps and instead listen for the rhythm of your own. Comparison is shallow. It only sees surfaces. It notices appearances, but not the unseen struggles, the hidden battles, the private costs. To envy what someone shows the world is to chase an illusion, because you do not know the weight they carry in silence. Alignment, however, goes deeper. It roots you in your reality, in your strengths and lessons, in the truth of who you are becoming. It grounds you so firmly that even when others seem ahead, you know your timing is not late, it is perfectly your own. A woman who lives in alignment radiates peace. She moves at her own pace, unhurried by the races others run. She does not feel small when others shine, because she knows her light has its own place. She invests her energy not in imitation, but in creation. She does not seek to outdo, but to be true. And in that truth, she discovers fulfillment that comparison could never bring. Living in alignment also means listening inward more than outward. The world is loud with expectations, telling you what success should look like, how beauty should be defined, how life should be lived. But alignment asks a different question. Does this reflect my deepest values? Does this nourish my soul? Does this decision bring me closer to who I am meant to be? When your choices answer these questions, you live authentically, not artificially. Comparison often leads to exhaustion because it forces you into a race that was never yours. Alignment, on the other hand, restores energy because it directs your strength only where it belongs. It removes the burden of proving and replaces it with the joy of being. Life becomes lighter because you no longer carry the weight of living someone else's story. The woman who lives in alignment is powerful, not because she is greater than others, but because she is wholly herself. She honors her limits, embraces her gifts, and walks her path with courage. She is not distracted by detours or delays because she trusts the timing of her own journey. And in that trust, she finds peace that comparison can never offer. So let go of the endless measuring. Step out of the race that was never meant for you. Do not shrink when others succeed, and do not despair when your path looks different. Instead, return to yourself, align with your truth, and walk faithfully in your own rhythm. When you live in alignment, you no longer need comparison, because you realize your worth is not in being better than others, but in being wholly, deeply, and unapologetically yourself. Life is not a straight line of victories and celebrations. It is a winding journey, filled with joys that lift the spirit and challenges that test its strength. Many people move through life reacting to circumstances, rejoicing when things go well, collapsing when they do not. But the woman who seeks growth in every experience understands that life is more than pleasure or pain. She knows that every moment, whether radiant with joy or heavy with struggle, carries within it the seed of transformation. Growth is rarely found in comfort. Comfort maintains, but it does not expand. It is often in the places of tension, disappointment, or loss that the soul begins to awaken to its deeper capacities. The woman who seeks growth does not run from hardship, nor does she allow it to define her. She asks instead, what can I learn here? What part of me is being strengthened? What wisdom is hidden in this moment? By asking these questions, she transforms obstacles into teachers and wounds into doorways to wisdom. To seek growth in every experience means refusing to see life as random or meaningless. Even the smallest encounters, the briefest conversations, or the most ordinary days can carry insight for the attentive heart. Nothing is wasted. The joy teaches gratitude, the sorrow teaches resilience, the failure teaches humility, and the success teaches responsibility. The conscious woman understands that life itself is the teacher, and she is always the student. Pain especially carries within it the potential for deep growth. While most seek to escape it, the wise woman chooses to face it. She knows that ignoring pain only drives it deeper, where it festers. By embracing it, she allows it to show her where healing is needed, where strength must be built, where illusions must be broken. Pain, when met with courage, becomes a passage to renewal. But seeking growth is not only about endurance, it is also about expansion. It is about recognizing that even in moments of joy, there is something to learn. Success is not just for celebration, it is for reflection. It asks, what did I do right? What values carried me here? How can I use this achievement not just for myself, but for others? Joy itself becomes a teacher, guiding her to deeper gratitude and greater purpose. The woman who seeks growth in every experience lives with a spirit of openness. She does not cling to rigid expectations, for she knows that life rarely unfolds according to plan. Instead, she allows herself to adapt, to shift, to learn. Where others see only disappointment, she sees redirection. Where others see failure, she sees training. Where others see endings, she sees beginnings in disguise. Such a woman does not measure her life only by external milestones but by inner transformation. She asks, am I wiser than I was a year ago? Am I more patient, more compassionate, more aware? For she understands that true success is not merely in what she has gained, but in who she has become. To seek growth daily is to live awake. It is to refuse to drift through life unconsciously. Each morning becomes an opportunity to learn something new, to deepen understanding, to refine character, even in the smallest routines, cooking a meal, speaking with a stranger, facing a minor frustration. There is a chance to grow in patience, humility, or kindness. Nothing is too small to shape the soul. This way of living turns life itself into a sacred classroom. Every joy, every challenge, every silence, every storm becomes a lesson. The woman who seeks growth in every experience does not wait for life to hand her meaning. She creates meaning by choosing to grow. So, embrace every moment. Do not waste pain by running from it. Do not waste joy by rushing past it. Do not waste failure by resenting it. Look at each experience and ask, what wisdom is hidden here for me? When you seek growth in every experience, you discover that life is not working against you. It is shaping you, refining you, preparing you. And in this awareness, even the heaviest burdens become lighter because you know they are not pointless. They are molding you into someone wiser, stronger, and more radiant. Growth is not a destination, it is a way of walking through life. And when you choose it daily, you find that every step, no matter how difficult, carries you closer to the fullness of who you are meant to be. The path of a wise woman is not built in a single moment, nor is it handed down from the world outside. It is carved from within, through daily choices, through quiet discipline, through the courage to live in truth. Each rule, guarding the inner world, valuing solitude, setting boundaries, choosing relationships with care, living in alignment, seeking growth in all experiences, and honoring intuition, forms not a chain of restrictions, but a circle of strength. Together, they create a life of clarity, of purpose, of dignity. The world will always call you away from yourself. It will tempt you with comparison, drain you with noise, and test you with countless distractions. But the woman who remains rooted in her center cannot be shaken. She may face storms, but she does not collapse. She may walk through shadows, but she does not lose her light. She rises again and again, because her foundation is not built on the shifting sands of opinion, but on the unshakable rock of self-knowledge. The true measure of greatness is not how loudly you shine before others, but how faithfully you remain true to yourself when no one is watching. Strength is not the absence of fear, but the decision to stand firm in your values. Wisdom is not the accumulation of knowledge, but the daily practice of living in alignment with your deepest truth. So carry these principles with you, not as distant ideals, but as companions for each day. Let them guide your thoughts, your actions, and your choices. And remember, you do not need to imitate another life to live powerfully. You need only to be wholly, fearlessly, and authentically yourself. For the woman who lives this way does not merely survive. She transforms, she uplifts, she creates, and in her presence, the world itself begins to change.